Welcome back to the channel. Break from Fear with Terry Pickens. This is the channel where I do my best to enlighten you on the fact that we are living in survival mode. And so you may ask, how do you know this? Well, over 20 years ago, I had a download from the quantum field. And basically, I introduce each video by giving that reminder so you have an idea where the information is coming from. Now, what's a download again? Real quickly, I used to meditate. It's more a situation where something comes to your brain, like a download, as in a computer, and you can't shut it off until it's ready. So for me, it lasted over 2 years. And when it was over, the information I'm sharing with you was what was downloaded. And over the 20 years, every day, within every situation, it makes more sense. And I understand it even better. We've been looking at symptoms of living in survival mode. So survival mode, the story behind it is we as a species, human beings, are not protecting our young children from going into their survival system, the fight-flight system, before they're old enough or before reasoning comes for them to understand what they're doing. And this happens when a young child, and we're looking, let's just for argument's sake, say before they're 7, they are not protected from fear. And it could be a sibling saying, if you touch my things, I'm going to kill you. Or it could be corporal punishment. It's horrific for a child when they did something wrong and they know that the parent is going to punish them. And that punishment is corporal punishment, meaning you take a stick or a belt and you're hitting a child. We are forgetting how little they are, and that to them, that's life and death, because the fight-flight is life and death. Why is the fight-flight life and death? Well, look at it this way. If I do not survive a situation in my life, then dinner, marriage, raising children, nothing else really matters. For all the goals and things you do, you must be alive to do them. So if you don't survive, then nothing really matters. So the downside, though, is if you're living in survival mode, it's fear-based, and your fear is irrational. All the things you're fearing or you're cooking up in your head, those things are not real. But even though if you think about them long enough, it's always possible that you can make them a realization by thinking it through, especially if you put a lot of emotion into it and you do it over a period of time. We looked at, there are multiple symptoms. The next video, I'd like to give a list of those. But today, I wanted to say that when you're in survival mode, one symptom that's not available to you is something simply called common sense. So you may ask, what is common sense? Common sense is like smelling or walking or seeing, where it's something you do automatically with very little thought. You think of a situation and you figure it out. So why isn't it available when you're in that survival mode? Well, irrational survival mode is a psychological state where your brain thinks you're an adult, but you're really an adult child. So the child does not have access to a lot of the adult faculties. And so the best way to demonstrate it is to give you an example. Take the dog whisperer. So I have a dog, and the dog is biting, Or in one case that I saw, it's an obsessive compulsive behavior the puppy has, which is licking. So I pick up my puppy's licking my face to the point where all my makeup is licked off. And it gets to the point where if I do nothing, the puppy does not stop, and then my skin will be coming off. So the owners are disturbed by this, and they call in Caesar, who's a dog expert, behavior expert, but he's looking at dog psychology. It's all about the psychology. And so where does this common sense, what place does it have in this? Well, let's say that this is happening to me and it's my dog. Common sense would tell you that you stop the dog. So there are multiple ways you can do that. I am not a fan of using too much language for animals because they're primal. And we got into survival mode when we were primal. That's why we're adult children, meaning that we're still using that primal side of us. But you could touch, in Caesar's case, animals bite each other because they have paws. So you could touch the animal when they do that, or you could even include touch and stop. You could put them down when they do that. You could look them in the eye and communicate to them that that's not a behavior that you're going to tolerate. That's common sense. I mean, uncommon sense would be, why would you let them do what they're doing and you simply sit there and tolerate it, and then you go out of your way to call in an expert? So this is not far-fetching or far reach from you raising a child. Think about it. If you're raising a child, wouldn't you use the same common sense principle if your child is doing a behavior that's not appropriate, that you do not like, so in other words, whether it's an animal or a child, the concept is still the same, that you have to address unwanted behavior. In another video, I'll show you the difference between punishment and discipline, because a lot of the people, because they're still in an adult inner child, which was caused by trauma, they're afraid to touch their animal or to scold, but there's a big difference between discipline and punishment. Discipline teaches, it comes from the word disciple. We must use it to teach our animals, and we must use it to teach our children. Punishment, on the other hand, is what happened to children, why they think like that, why the adult child thinks like that, because there was corporal punishment, or there was locked in your room, and instead of time out for a week, it was time out for a month or 2 months or 3 months, and God forbid it was for a year. But these are inappropriate manners of disciplining your child, because you were not using discipline, you were using punishment. Now the child grows up, but they're in survival mode. So the body grows up, the mind didn't grow up. It's now an adult child. And when they are faced with situations requiring common sense, it's just not there. When you're in survival mode, it's about fear. It's about fear that you're going to talk too loud or you're going to do this. But here's the irony of this common sense. Common sense or any other sense or any other symptom of survival mode, when you get frustrated, most people get frustrated or angry with their animals, that is punishment. That's not discipline. And that's actually cruel. And you can translate that to your children. When you get angry and frustrated with your children, that is hurting them way more than if you applied some control in a behavior. And why? Because usually that form of frustration or anger, it's happening all the time. Their behavior is not getting better. It's not changing. And every time it's displayed, you answer it by being frustrated or by being angry. And that's verbal, that's psychological, that's eat away at them, and it does way more harm than if calmly and assertively, going back to the puppy licking your face, the obsessive behavior, you touch the neck or a body part without laughing, being serious, look the puppy in the eye and say stop. And you may have to do it a few times, but the animal will get the message, like your kids will get the message. So we'll do a separate video on the difference. I did one before. You could refer to the videos below, or I can do it in a more expansive. But once again, this is about the goal of the videos is to help you out of survival mode. And so when I give you examples, like for common sense, just think what would alleviate the situation and do it. In this case, we talked about the puppy with the obsessive compulsive behavior, and you do a calm, assertive touch. Or you use your voice, and I don't think you need to speak, but whatever you do it in all seriousness. You do it once or twice, and I guarantee you, as Caesar guarantees you, the behavior will go. I am ending this video. I try not to make them too long, but I'm reminding you to comment below, to press the like button if you're enjoying this and it's educational, like, and customize, come back to the channel. The more you do that, then the more I can do more of these videos. So thanks again for listening, and we will see you next time.